Welcome to another edition of Smalltalk for you. This morning I thought I'd go through something that every Smalltalker, especially when they first start out, tries to do because it seems cool and seems interesting and seems valuable. But as you go along in your Smalltalk career, you learn that this is something you should approach with caution. That's does not understand. As it happens, you can do something like this. If you go ahead and do object new, say Zork, you'll find that you get a well understood exception instead of crashing your system. So if I do this and execute, I get a walk back because of course it doesn't understand that. So the nice thing about Smalltalk is you get a well understood exception instead of just a crash, which you might get in something like C or C++. However, you can do something more interesting. You can actually override the does not understand behavior and drive your own. Now, while this is cool sounding, and in fact for things like proxy operations to do with databases and remote communication, it can be highly valuable and make it much easier to write that kind of code than it is in some other things. It can be really dangerous if you're doing this just because you can. So here's a good example of just because I can. I've created a little dictionary and put the numbers 1, 2, and 3 as symbols in here, and 1, 2, 3 the values. And then I have this thing where I look at the argument that I came in and I just transmit it from that symbol into a number. If it's not one of those things, I'll just say, well, don't want to add anything, I'll add 0. So what this means is no matter what I send to counter, so if I come in here and I do this, counter new, and I do 1, 2, 3, execute, that's going to work. And if I go ahead and inspect this, you'll find that as expected, the counter's value is 6. Well, what about counter 1000? Execute it. It still works. Nothing broke. The value is still 6. What if I send, counter go away? I've now created something that swallows all exceptions. So I go ahead and execute. It never tells me there's a problem. The count, of course, stays 6 because it doesn't impact that value. But I've effectively broken this and made it so that it's impossible to figure out. Go away looks like a message that's going to work. So does 1000. So does anything else. So I've made it so that this object swallows everything I send at it. Also makes it effectively impossible to debug. Well, not impossible, but really, really hard. Because if this were part of a working system, when exceptions that would normally pop right up in your face and tell you what happened, stack traces in a runtime, you're not going to get them. It's going to swallow them. And the difficulty with this is that the problem will crop up further down the line. Some other object that was expecting this guy to do the right thing, he won't have done the right thing. He'll just have swallowed the exception and kept on going, will break in ways that don't make any sense. So yes, this is a cool feature of Smalltalk. It's something that's highly valuable when you need it, but you need it very, very, very rarely. So keep that in mind. So that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with whatever Smalltalk you're using.